this video, I would like to share with you my impressions and experience with my new MIDI controller, Studiologic SL88 Studio. I will point on its technical capabilities and the ways to use it. The keyboard looks very solid. The keybed is without any annoying key-related extra noises. The piano feel is surprisingly good for its cost. The keyboard is crafted by Fatar. It's presented as a professional digital piano keyboard with weighted hammer action keys. It's built from technopolymer materials, with high precision in its response and increased dynamic range of the action. I feel the keyboard comfortable, and by my opinion the weighted response is correctly emulated to the keys. The keyboard can be used for home practice and in the studio, but it's also suitable for gigs because of its lightweight. Let's say that the piano feeling is very good for its cost, and the quality-price ratio is fair. The connection to the computer is simple. You don't need to install any drivers. Just connect SL88 to the USB port and turn it on. Check your Windows Device Manager if the ports are visible and working properly. I will run my Cubase 7. Let's take a look at the display. There are 4 zones active by default. If you want to record a single MIDI track, for example piano, you will have to choose an initial program with only one zone active, or deactivate zones 2, 3 and 4 in the main SL88 program and store it. Otherwise you may get double MIDI notes recorded. Another thing you should do is to select which MIDI inputs to be visible in the MIDI track pane. In Cubase, go to Devices, MIDI port, and enable those you use. In my case, these are SL Studio and Steinberg QA44. MIDI in to SL Studio is for connection to the SL editor software only, so it's not necessary to be active input in Cubase. The SL editor software is already installed on my computer. It's available for download at manufacturer's website. With this software, you can edit every available option without need to look at the display. When the SL editor is running, the control from the knobs is unavailable. The installing is simple. Just follow the on-screen instructions. To establish a connection between the SL editor software and the keyboards, turn on the SL88, run the program, and go to Global MIDI section first. From the drop-down menus, for input select MIDI in to, for output select MIDI out to, and press connect. In this section we have also Global Transpose option and the firmware upgrade option. The SL editor offers many possibilities for controlling another MIDI gear, such as hardware synthesizers, sound modules, and software synths. Let's start with the main program view. There are 4 different chord panels. Every panel responds to a single zone on the keyboard. To activate a zone, double-click to open it, and click on Enable button. Now back to the main program view. I will mention the MIDI merge function first. The MIDI merge function is to connect another MIDI keyboard to the SL and merge the MIDI data coming from this device with the internal data, sending the result to a selected destination. Let's take a look inside the zone editor. The following functions are available. First, the Enable Zone knob. Add a name of the instrument and sound used for the selected zone. The basic settings are turning on or off the aftertouch, setting the transpose and the volume level. The next is the key range and the velocity response. We choose here between different velocity curves. The zone range can be defined from these rotary knobs or from the keyboard panel at bottom of the editor. The velocity range values can be defined here. The next are the important MIDI settings, the MIDI connection type for the zone, and the corresponding MIDI channel. The program change messages are used when a hardware synth is connected. The following section is for selecting the 3 sticks functions. The pitch bend and the modulation can be assigned respectively to the first stick's X and Y position. On last place is the 4 pedals section. They can be assigned to any desirable MIDI controller. Here is the organized section. And the most important for me is the SL touch key balance section. Here is the place to edit the touch response for every single key of the keyboard and store it as a user preset. Here we have also the key balance. This option is for setting the balance between the white and black keys. Now let me show how to split the keyboard. Select an initial program from the SL Editor's menu. Activate 2 zones, one for the lower and one for the upper part. The lowest key of the keyboard is A0. Now select the upper point for the lower zone. Then select the lower point for the second higher zone. The highest point will be the last key in the keyboard, C8. Define the MIDI out channels for both zones. I will use USB MIDI connection type. Now back to Cubase. I will import now a multi-timbral VST instrument. Let's choose Helian Sonic. Now select the MIDI input. It must be SL Studio. Define the MIDI channel of the created track as any. Now go to the first section of the VST instruments which corresponds to the MIDI channel 1 and select the program. We have now sound for the lower part of the keyboard. Go to the Helian's MIDI channel 2 and select another program. Now we have ready 2 zones with 1 split point. Both zones can be transposed from the SL88 or from VST's edit section. We can now also define the functions of the sticks and pedals for each zone. When you record your playing, the MIDI stuff will come to one track. Later, when you are finished with the recordings, you can use the function MIDI dissolve part to separate channels in Cubase, and you will have the MIDI track separated by the corresponding MIDI channel. Let me tell you more about splitting 2 zones. You can use every MIDI type connection for splitting multi-timbral VST instruments to 4 zones. Multi-timbral VST instruments are Helian Sonic, Omnisphere, Contact, UVI workstation. You can use USB MIDI together with 5-pin MIDI 1 and MIDI 2 connections if you want to add various non-multi-timbral VSTs to the zones. 5-pin MIDI out 1 can be connected to an audio interface with MIDI input. MIDI out 2 can be connected to a MIDI to USB adapter, for example. I have created a new user program in SL Editor. There are 3 zones with sounds from the multi-timbral Helium Sonic. I have also imported a non-multi-timbral VST instrument for the 4th zone, it's Steinberg Spectre. I have a 5-pin MIDI cable connected from the SL88's MIDI out 1 to the Steinberg QA44 MIDI in. I will use a MIDI 1 connection type for this zone. The proper MIDI input must be selected from the Spectre's track pane. It's Steinberg QA44 and the MIDI channel is 1. In this case, both VST's created tracks must be selected to sound simultaneously. I can say that in this price range, you cannot buy any other MIDI keyboard controller with 88 hammer action keys, with good piano feeling, with so many options and easy to use, so I highly recommend it. That's for now. If this video was helpful for you, please like and subscribe to the channel for more upcoming videos.